Deploying Pulsar connectors is now easier than ever using StreamNative Cloud UI. To demonstrate this, I'm going to send data from a Pulsar topic to an S3 bucket using the Pulsar Cloud Storage Sync connector for S3. Here I am in the StreamNative Cloud UI with my instance already selected. I'm going to go ahead and select the S3 tenant, S3 namespace, where I would like to deploy the connector and where my topic exists. That topic is here called S3 topic. To deploy a connector, I go to the Connectors tab and then select either Syncs or Sources. In this case, I want to deploy a sync, so I'll stay on the Syncs tab and click on Create Sync. I'd like to deploy a Cloud Storage S3 connector. So here under the available built-in syncs, I'll go ahead and click on that one. And you're presented with available options, the most common available options for your particular sync. I'm going to call my sync S3 sync. The subscription I'll call S3 subscription. This is the subscription on your topic that will get created. Then under service accounts, I'm going to select source sync service account. This is an existing service account that I created that's not an admin. If you use the create service account option here, that will create an admin account. That's not the preferred option. So I'm going to be using this sources sync service account, and once we deploy the connector, while it's deploying, I'll go ahead and show you where I added the required permissions, my tenant and namespace. My tenant and namespace are already pre-selected, and I happen to only have one topic, so it selected the correct one, S3 topic. Then you need to set up the configuration inside of AWS. For AWS, I've already created my S3 bucket, and I already have an AWS user as well as an access key and a secret access key. That user also needs a very specific set of permissions. In this case, it needs put object and abort multi-part upload for S3, and then you specify your particular bucket using the resource, being sure to also have /* at the end. I'm going to be using secrets to access my S3 bucket to write messages to it with the connector. From the secret, I don't have any secrets yet, so I'm going to say create secret. I'm going to call this secret S3 secret. And for access key, I need to get that out of IAM in AWS for my particular user. So I'm going to paste those in, the access key, as well as the secret access key. And I'll click submit, and a secret will get created, and I'll show you where that secret is as well once we deploy the connector. For bucket, I choose Pulsar S3 connector. That's the name of the S3 bucket that I've created. And it's created inside of the region US East 1 in AWS. Format type, I've selected JSON. I'm actually publishing string messages to my topic, but they're already pre-formatted as JSONs, as I'll show you in Intellij when we go ahead and test the connector. Let me submit the connector so it can be deployed. While that's deploying, I'm going to go ahead and show you where the required permissions are set for your tenant and namespace so that you can deploy the connector and it can read out of the topic. So you would have created the service account here on the Service Accounts tab, again, a non-admin account. And then if I go over to tenants namespaces and I select my tenant and my namespace, if I go to policy, you can see I've given this particular service account that I've used to deploy my connector, both consume and syncs permissions. I've also given it produce permissions because I'm going to use the same service account for testing by writing messages to that topic using Intellij. And then during the flow of creating the connector, we also created a secret. If I go over to secrets here on the left, I can see the secret that got created. If I go to topics now and I go to S3 topic, I should see that my subscription was created from my connector, and we called that S3 subscription. If I go over to connectors, the connector should say that it's now ready and it's running. Any new messages that I now publish to the S3 sync should get synced over to my S3 bucket. Let me go ahead and go in Intellij and test this out. Here I am in Intellij where I've created the SN Producer Java class, and I'm using that credential source sync service account, and because that has produce permissions, it's going to be able to write to my topic. Here I've specified that topic where I want to write these messages, and my producer is of type string, where the schema is string, but you can see that the string message I'm producing specifically is configured to look just like a JSON, and that's why I've selected JSON in my configuration for my sync. Let me go ahead and publish 10 messages where they're going to have a my value field and then the values 0 through 9. I'm going to go ahead and right-click my class and select Run. If you aren't familiar with using the Java client, I've included a link to a video that shows how you can get sample code out of the UI to then put into Intellij, and also how to set up your Maven dependencies. So here I've published 10 messages. Going back to the UI, the connector already shows that the 10 messages have been sent over to the sink. And I also like to verify on the topic that the subscription here shows that there's no backlog. So since there's no backlog, I expect that the messages have been sent. Here I am in AWS in my Pulsar S3 connector bucket. Inside of that is an object, and it's going to be the tenant name, the namespace, and then it's going to be divided up by the partitions. I actually have a topic with two partitions. So it's S3 topic, partition 0 and partition 1. If I go ahead and select partition 0, I have two files here. Go ahead and download the first file. So I'll click on it and select download. If I go ahead and open it, you're going to see that inside of this particular JSON file, there's going to be 4 messages, and they have the exact format that we expect based on what we had in Intellij, a my value field followed by the integer. This is just one of the JSON files that's in partition 0, and then you'd also want to look inside of partition 1 for any additional data. You can now see how easy it is to deploy Pulsar connectors to StreamNative Cloud using the new StreamNative Cloud UI.